So in today's video, we're talking with Sonny, who found a niche and just ran with it. So he works as a respiratory therapist as his day job, and he's looking into other businesses to help him supplement his income. So this is a prime example of leveraging knowledge and then turning that into action. We're also gonna be talking about how Taylor Swift helped him make $5,000 of profit in just 1 month. This was a great conversation with someone that's absolutely crushing it. I know you're gonna love it. All right, we got Sonny in the house. Thanks for hopping on, man. It's always good to chat. So I know, you've been, doing really well with your property. I know you're looking at other properties here to scale as well here soon. So let's just talk about, what inspired you to start an Airbnb business, and we'll go from there.
Okay, so I am a respiratory therapist in Houston, Texas, and I've been working for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. And I just know that I want to do like a side hustle. I always want to do real estate investing on the side, even before respiratory therapy. But I just knew I needed to, get some capital somehow, get my foot through the door and make some income before I start investing. So yeah, after I have enough savings, I decided to do real estate investing like Airbnb, because I've seen people who have done it and they are making quite a bit of money, and I was interested. I was on Instagram, I was on YouTube, I came across your IG profile and I watched your reels and I just got hooked on, and I signed up for your class, and that's how I got into it.
Nice, man. So yeah, respiratory therapy, my wife is actually a respiratory therapist. So I know, especially during the pandemic, how hard you guys were working. I'm sure it's crazy for you as well. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of what a lot of people's, ambitions are, right? Or they want, to start a side hustle, something like respiratory therapy. You have a couple of days off per week where you can, kind of use that time to, start building it. So I'm assuming, do you have a family, or what does that look like right now?
Yes, I'm living with my mother right now. We bought this house about in 2002. My dad did, and then he passed away back in 2015. When I turned 21, I inherited the house, head of this household. And yeah, it's just me and my mom living here in Houston.
Gotcha. So, kind of going back to that, because, we're both kind of from Asian backgrounds. So there is, kind of this like level of responsibility, especially you being the head of the household, you have this responsibility to provide for, your mom and, try to get that better lifestyle. So where does that stem from? Is that just from your background? Like where did that responsibility, wanting to start a side hustle, where did that desire come from?
Yeah, I think that desire comes from a sense of, well, I knew I had to take care of my mother because she is getting older. And my dad prepped me for a long time as I was growing up. He said, one day, I will not be here. It's up to you to take care of your mom. And when she's gone, you have to know how to take care of yourself. And when you go with family, you have to take care of them. So he built that into me. 2015, when he passed away, I guess my life had a huge jump start. I knew that I can't be like messing around so much. I have to find a way to take care of my mother, but know how to secure myself for the future. So it's not just like real estate investing, but investing in myself. That's how I got into the medical field. And I knew that, all right, I need to do something more. So that way, even when I take care of my mother, I knew that I can be secure for my future family whenever they come into my life.
Awesome. That's great background, man. So let's kind of talk about some of the challenges you face, when starting this business, just because obviously a lot of people see the end result. They don't see the struggle and all the countless hours, kind of developing yourself to get to that point. So what are some of the challenges that you faced, with this business, and how did you overcome those things?
Let's see. I think the first thing would be education, how to educate yourself, where to start. Do I just Google something? How do you Google it? How do you know which source is a reliable source to look up and all that stuff? Who to ask? Like, I just came across your IG profile just by, stroke of luck. I was just scrolling, and then all of a sudden I hear about Airbnb, real estate investing. And I guess as I applied for your school course, that's when I met other people. And then they also helped me learn more about what to do, how to real estate investing. And then at my hospital, I hear other people who is also doing real estate investing. So that's how I could connect with them and educate each other in that aspect. So that's pretty cool. So one of the hardest things I say to start out is not just knowing when to start, but how to start. And once you know how to start, then it's about when. And the answer should always be just right now. Just jump the gun, see where you can go, and then just keep improving from there. I would say that's the main struggle, just knowing how to start.
Yeah, I think you touched on a couple of good points. Number one is having that community and being surrounded with like-minded individuals, because if you're surrounded by a bunch of people that don't have that ambition, like whether you like it or not, you're going to be the average of the 5 people that you're around the most, which is I'm a huge believer in, because my income exploded once I started getting around and keep communicating and collaborating with people that were on the like-minded individuals wanting to get to the same place that you wanted to be. And then number two is like all this knowledge is great, but if you don't actually apply it, then it's not going to do anything. And so I think that's something that I'm picking up on is that you were really good at taking the knowledge and then just, going right away and starting applying it. Is that kind of on the right path? What I'm saying?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Cool.
And I was just listening, making mistakes is already a given. You will make mistakes, but that's how you learn. That's the golden tidbit. Like, make the mistakes so that you can learn.
100%. So let's talk about the first property that you found. Can kind of give some backstory on, how did you find it? How did you choose the area? And also, let's start there, and then we'll go on to the other details.
Yeah, sure. So as you know, I'm working in a medical field. I'm a respiratory therapist inside the Texas Medical Center. And as I'm working, I'm like, there are families who are visiting the medical center who wants to visit their, stay with the children or their relatives for extended periods of time, or just some visitors from out of state coming in. They want to stay temporarily and they go back home. So I thought, what if there's a property around here? Like, instead of just going to a hotel, you can book a house that, has a sense of privacy and enough space for enough visitors. So I looked around the Texas Medical Center in Houston, Texas. And my first property is like 6 minutes away from the Texas Medical Center. I found it on Zillow, and I saw it was up for rent. And I thought, this is a townhouse that is 4 stories with 5 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. It looks pretty good. So I thought, if I sublease this place, it would serve very well to those families or any medical workers who are visiting. So on Zillow, I found that, and I decided to give it a go, give a landlord a call, a realtor actually. And then she hooked me up with the landlord, and the landlord was very open to it. Because initially, this townhouse was for the previous tenant for this townhouse was for a family with kids, because there's a school nearby that's very, very good for children. So when I brought the idea of serving for the medical field families and for medical workers or business professionals, he was open for it.
Nice. So how did that pitch look like? Because I think that's something that, people struggle with, talking to people, trying to convince the landlords. What was that conversation looking like with, first of all, talking to the agent to kind of get her on board, so that they would, go and communicate to the landlord, hey, this is an offer that I want to present to you. So let's talk about how you were able to, get the go ahead from the landlord and also the agent.
Okay. I think the first thing was how my experience was, again, I was a respiratory therapist. I work nearby, and I see some families who want to, temporarily rent, stay at a house so that way they can visit their families or relatives. And the landlord was very empathetic about that. I guess that's what hooked them on. He's like, oh, this is a very nice idea. He didn't know the idea of subleasing before, because before he was just serving other families for the schools and all that stuff. So when I pitched the idea, that's when he realized, oh yeah, now that you mention it, I am nearby a hospital. I never realized that. So when I had that service pitched towards him, he was empathetic. He wanted to help as well. So that way, there's that bond that to help others. So to help others is what helped my pitch to ask for his permission to sublease.
Got it. Yeah, it sounds like you did a good job of building that rapport as well, and kind of getting him on board with the business model, because a lot of the times people think that it's kind of like you versus the landlord and trying to see who can get the better deal. But if you frame it the right way and if you structure everything correctly, it can be a win-win, right? Because you can treat their property better, or through paying them a little bit more in rent each month. Like, there's a lot of different aspects where it can be a win-win. It sounds like you were able to do that really well with this landlord.
Yeah. I think that what helps is having a purpose of why you want this sublease, right? Not just saying, yeah, I just want to do it for travel people who are coming in. And then if there's a money-driven mindset, that's a little bit harder. But if it's a more business-driven, to help others mindset in that aspect with, in the medical field or business field, then I think that truly helps.
And I think you were able to gain that expertise knowledge of your market, and kind of come in from, okay, this is my plan, kind of laying it out there, being vulnerable, and just letting him know what you're planning on doing, instead of trying to be sneaky about it or whatever. Because I see people saying, hey, I want to tell them this, what do you think? And I'm like, just be honest with them, because at the end of the day, they're going to find out. It's better just to be open and honest at the beginning. And then, from there, that's going to develop that foundation of having a good relationship, before you move in. Just because in almost all cases, it's never going to work out if you start off the relationship on a lie. And so I'm a firm believer in that.
Yeah, for sure. I believe in that.
So let's kind of talk through your photos first. Walk me through some of the ideas behind it? Because obviously these photos are professionally taken. So let's kind of talk about, your thought process on the design and all that.
Okay, cool. Main point one is yes, always get the photos professionally done. I have it furnished this way just by scrolling through all the different websites. Sell the vision of that this is a very homely vibes, so that when people are visiting, they're not like overblown with a bunch of different designs. And when I get the photos done, I knew the backyard patio was like the money shot, with the string lights and the backyard furniture. This is where I believe people will be hanging out, just talking to each other, really relaxing. And then I go indoors with that living room, with the sofa and the TV with the board games. This is when people will come inside and they can still hang out, have a good time, and relax as well. And then there's the kitchen. Kitchen area is not the greatest design, but it's just a good area for people to also still hang around, have breakfast, have the morning coffee, have lunch, have dinner. They can cook with whatever they need. And then in the bedrooms, there are 4 bedrooms, but one of the bedrooms have 2 twin beds. There's a king bedroom, 2 queens, and then a Jack and Jill bathroom. Yeah, because this was originally like a house for families, really. So like children can come into the Jack and Jill bathroom and sleep while the parents were living in the master suite. Yeah, very big bathroom, huge mirror, very spacious space in the master bedroom. The high ceilings. Like even when I furnish it this way with the master bed and the table and the 2 chairs, it's still a lot of space. So it really gives that open feeling so that they don't feel so cramped. And then the 4th floor is it used to be a game room, but then I converted to just another bedroom and another table for like private space in case someone needs to do like a conference call. And yeah, that's how I designed it.
Yeah, no, it's really clean looking. Just something that I think a lot of, because who your target audience is, right? Like you had that in mind from the get-go, and that's really important when it comes to, designing your property, is to, think about it from the perspective of a traveler, right? Your ideal or person that you're trying to target. And I think you've done a beautiful job. Obviously, everything looks good, clean, and even, the furniture looks good and updated. And so, you've done a good job because you've have, 5-star reviews coming in. So let's talk about do you feel like the target audience that you had in mind, is that the person that's staying consistently at your property, or what does that look like?
Yes. So the guests that I had, 2 of the guests were weekly stays. They were both parents of a child who's getting surgery in the medical center. They stay for a week. And then one of them are a travel group of people who are here for a business convention near the NRG Stadium. They worked with the Hess Oil Corporation in Houston. I wasn't familiar with them, but when I looked it up, it was a very legitimate corporation. So that was pretty cool. And then the other 2 were just guests who were traveling for a NRG Stadium event. So just like recently, there was a Taylor Swift concert, and that was the one I made the most profit because there were 10 guests stayed here, and yeah, they paid quite a lot for just to stay for 2 nights. The other was just a random group of guests who were just visiting Houston for the first time, and then they just wanted space near the downtown area and NRG Stadium.
So that's actually a really good point that you bring up, because a lot of times when you look at someone's calendar, I'm assuming you have the dynamic pricing set up, right?
Yes, I do.
No, yeah, perfect. So talking about that Taylor Swift concert, because if you just had stagnant pricing where it was just, let's say, $200 a night, just kind of whatever, like someone would have booked those nights where the Taylor Swift concert was happening, and they would have only made, a couple $100. But you had the dynamic pricing on, I would imagine, and it kind of picks up and shows that there's a huge demand for Airbnbs or hotels during that time, and so you were able to charge a premium because something was happening in that area. So how was that? How do you feel like dynamic pricing has helped your business pick up those the extra revenue?
Yeah, so I use Price Labs, like the one you recommended on your class, and it worked really well. Yeah, I would never have known that Taylor Swift was coming in that weekend. If I use Price Labs, I look those dates. I'm like, why is these dates like more expensive than the others? Is there something special? So with a little Google search, I realized, oh, Taylor Swift was coming into town thing. No wonder prices went up. So I would have never known if it wasn't for this the dynamic pricing. It really helps.
Awesome, man. So let's talk about, because I know you're looking at other properties and you're sending in deals for us to review and whatnot. So what's kind of your goals in the future when it comes to this business? And let's talk about some other ideas about your current business and where you're wanting to be in the next year or so.
So I know subleasing was a very great way to get your foot through the door and to generate profit. But now it's all about taxing. And my friend was like saying, you should also be able to own a house as well. So you can take advantage of appreciation, build equity, and all that. And I was just looking around the same way I was doing with my Airbnb, just looking around Zillow, see what's around, see if I can own anything. And then while I was running this Airbnb, there was a new construction going on in front of my Airbnb. It's super close. It's a new 4-story townhouse, 5 bedrooms. And I was thinking, well, if my Airbnb right now is doing well, and let's say the landlord is willing to like terminate this lease for some reason, I was thinking if I buy this townhouse in front of it, it could also like do just as well, if not better. So that was just a thought that I had, and I was just looking around, and I just want to know, if I want to own a property, does it changes anything when it comes to like what's different between that and arbitrage and owning a property?
Yeah, no, for sure. So let's talk about, some of the numbers on this current property, right? Like what are we looking at cash flow wise on average for this current property? I know you say it's doing pretty well.
So I was fully booked out this month, and then minus the rent and utility bills and all stuff, I would have made $55,216. Yeah, that was my profit for this month.
So over $5,000 for the month of May. Jeez.
Yes. Yeah. I guess it was just a Taylor Swift concert that. But yeah, I made at least $2,000 up. Look, coming up in June and July. Yeah, it's going pretty well.
Awesome, man. No, that's great. You've obviously found a really good niche in your market, and you took action. So you, like, a lot of people are like, oh, like, he just got lucky because Taylor Swift was in town. But it's like you took the action steps to be able to get lucky. I think people that take action just end up being luckier because they kind of create that for themselves. So that's awesome that you're able to have such honestly life-changing money, right? Like sometimes being a respiratory therapist, obviously you guys obviously do awesome jobs. You work really hard, but sometimes you can make even more doing this than your full-time job, which is awesome supplement, and also to help support your mother as well. So why did you actually want to join program to kind of get to that next level? Specifically obviously the Airbnb arbitrage roadmap that we run and the community. What made you want to join?
Just your way that you made your IG videos. It was very convincing. I was like, I don't know what it is, but I felt like I could trust this guy. I guess it's because either you're also Asian and I'm Asian, and I just felt that relation. I just wanted to join just to get a head start again for the educational value. And yeah, that's why I joined your roadmap class.
Yeah, and obviously I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm trying to convince you to do something, right? I try to give the value because I'm a firm believer. If you give that value away, then it's going to come back to you as well, right? And that's always kind of been the idea for all the channels, is to give away as much value. You can take it and use it. And I got so many messages of people asking me about what I do, if they can help me. And so I decided, kind of came from people constantly asking me. I never wanted to do any sort of coaching or anything like that. That is a huge reason why I wanted to start that, is because so many people were asking, and I'm glad that, you found the value from that.
Yeah, there's so much value that you brought. And I just want to say thank you so much.
Yeah, man. And I'm not paying Sunny to say that, but I appreciate that, man. Cool. So how many hours per week do you feel like you're dedicating to the current business? Like, have you outsourced the management yet, or are you managing the property yourself for now? And then what is that looking like time commitment wise?
Yeah. So right now, this is just my first Airbnb. So I'm doing everything myself. I did all the furnishing. I'm doing all the communication with the guests and managing all by myself. When I started this business and before I subleased this property, I would say it was before Thanksgiving, before the holidays of last year. And I spend maybe 3 hours a day minus the work days that I worked. So I would say around 4 days out of the week. So 3 hours. So 12 hours a week I'd spend on researching about, okay, how do I get this furnished? How do I make a game plan of getting everything delivered and setting it up and making it look nice, coordinating with the professional photography, get the string lights installed. Yeah, I would say 12 hours a week since Thanksgiving last year up into end of February of this year. Because I launched this Airbnb in March. So yeah, it's been around that time I spent that much.
Got it. So that's on the initial setup of the actual property, right?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So now that it's up and running, I'm assuming it's a lot less than that, where you just kind of have to manage the property, guest communication and cleaners and stuff. How many hours a week do you feel like you're working, now that it's up and live?
Okay, nowadays it's just mostly just an hour out of the day. Yeah, just communicating with the guests, asking any questions, talking to my cleaners, saying, hey, this day the guests will check out. Please come in and clean on this date. And just, there's much less hours worked than getting it furnished.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the initial setup part can take time, obviously, because you want to make sure that everything's good to go in the proper place, ready for photographers and kind of getting everything lined up. But, even 12 hours isn't unreasonable per week, right? You work a full-time job, and I'm sure some days were harder than others, but once it's up and running, like, it really can be streamlined if you have the proper systems and processes in place. So yeah, let's kind of talk about your next, your overall vision for the next, even let's drag it out to 2 to 3 years. Like, what does that look like, from your end? What are some of your goals that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, so probably by around year 3, I hope I have like maybe a fifth property, either own or sublease, that help me generate a good amount of profit. Hopefully at least 2 or 3K a monthly, like this one. And once that's done, I should be able to go on to doing like bigger deals out of state. Hopefully, like maybe my third property maybe out of state, or just even at least out of the city of Houston, somewhere where it's a little bit more luxurious, like a beachfront property or something. But go by the year 3 should be having at least 5 properties that help me generate a good amount of profit.
And that's the beauty of this business model, because it's something I love, because like a lot of people, when they get into real estate, they're like, I want to have 50 doors, or I want to have 100 doors. The nice thing about this business model is that there's a lifestyle component to it, right? Because, I personally have over 40 traditional long-term rental units, and it's not fun managing that many tenants sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Even if you outsource the property management, you still have to kind of deal with like the repairs and all that. But the thing with this is, like, you just need a handful of properties in order to truly become financially free. And so being, particular about the properties that you select and all that, can get you to where you want to be pretty quickly, which is awesome. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I would want to focus more on just quality rather than just having a bunch of Airbnbs and just like subpar furnishing it. Yeah, it may be generating me a good amount of profit, but I'd rather focus on, giving a good experience for the guests, especially since I'm catering towards like travel families who are visiting for other family and relatives. I want them to have a good experience, not just like a place they can just sleep in, but places they can come by and actually feel like they're home away from home. Yeah, that's one of the views that my guests, my 3 out of my 5 guests told me. It feels home away from home. And I feel like, that's why I want for my properties to feel like, it's not just like a place that I just bought so I can make money off of it. It's also my home that I'm willing to share.
Yeah. No, I think a lot of like, even looking at your listing and, the thought process and all like the hard, sweat and tears that you put into it, you can definitely tell that there's a human touch to it, right? Because, because obviously there's nothing wrong with scaling, to dozens and dozens of units, but like you kind of lose that aspect of why a lot of people get started in this business in the first place, is to have that home away from home and kind of give that experience to someone else's family, because these are memories that these families can cherish for forever, right? With their traveling with their families and all that stuff. So love that you're kind of bringing that personal touch to it.
Yes, sure.
Cool. So kind of let's just talk about kind of to wrap this up. What are the biggest takeaways that you learned from kind of starting this entrepreneurial business? And let's just kind of see what's your biggest takeaway from starting this business?
That's my biggest takeaway is that I wish I could have started this much sooner. Like, I was much more confident back then. Yeah, there's so many opportunities that to be had, and it just, like you said, you just have to start now. And the more you start now, and the more success you have, the more you think about, man, I should have started even sooner. I wish I had started even sooner. But even then, it's still not too late to start. So that's the biggest takeaway, is that I learned about this even before respiratory. So that way I have a game plan already so that I could scale much faster.
Awesome, dude. Well, I know how valuable your rest days are as a respiratory therapist, just because my wife was one. So
yeah,
appreciate taking the time, man. Thanks for sharing your story, and also, how you've been able to be successful. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people. So appreciate the help, man. And we'll talk to you soon.